patterns of thought are connected to the state in which they arise. Our disposition, headspace, emotional condition, intention and desires all set the scene. This extends beyond the conditions of the immediate organism to the surrounding environment. We cannot separate a thought from the environment in which that thought arises. Results of quantum physics experiments recurringly highlight this dynamic. No perception or apprehension can ultimately be separated from the perceptual apparatus in any situation. Even the way we recall and access memories is influenced by our current state of awareness. If we are in a state of despair, it's easier to draw upon memories resonant with this theme and emotional charge. When feeling liberated, it's easy to recall and reflect upon times in which you felt catharsis before. Even events seemingly devoid of emotional charge are recalled in a different light depending on your current disposition. This all speaks loudly to the significance of our current state of awareness, for it not only informs our immediate experience, it also influences how memories are recalled, shaping the very stories we live by. Contemplation and thinking involves action, whether or not you perceive yourself to be engaged in or responsible for the action. By acknowledging thinking as being inextricably linked to contextual conditions, you may consciously engage these conditions, work with them, adjust them, remove or introduce elements in the interest of effective contemplation. Acknowledging our extended mind, we can get creative with our environment to adjust our internal conditions. If we find ourselves dwelling on a problem without progressing towards any sort of resolution, it might be useful to acknowledge that you are not cognizing a solution in your current environment, and instead look to shift your environment. Now, if you've creative flair, you might further seek out environments that are relevant to the nature of the problem being contemplated, or resonant with the thinking style you wish to employ. The subtle art of creatively shifting one's environment in order to think in different styles can open up an entirely new and creative approach to life. As explored in part 1 of this series, in our modern times, we often default to a model of mind that frames thinking as occurring purely in the head, with thoughts hidden away from the world. We can think our thoughts are private and somehow don't count towards reality, or are benign unless acted upon. We can feel that if something is not witnessed by others, it somehow lacks reality. Essentially, people feel they've gotten away with it, or it doesn't count if no one is watching, if no one knows, or no one is affected. This attitude validates a personal modality of presenting a face to the world and wearing another face in private, in a way that lacks integrity. The fact that animals, especially animals like dogs, can sense the character and intentions of a person from a distance is evidence enough that the mind and disposition of a person has tangible effects upon an environment, even when no overt action is undertaken. Throughout human history, most cultures have placed significance on the content of one's thoughts, encasing this in various mythological stories, emphasizing that thoughts and speech have magical effects upon the world, and are far from exempt from the judgment of the gods. Without needing to believe in any particular god, we can extract from this a key resounding lesson. Not only are our actions seen by the world, so too are our thoughts and speech. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the notion of karma reflects the relationship between cause and effect, action and consequence. Awareness of thoughts creating or influencing karma is emphasized in Buddhist practice, highlighting how one must consider thoughts as actions in order to become aware and responsible for one's effects in the world. Though we might feel that our thoughts can be involuntary or subconscious, it does not exempt them from having consequence. Just because we don't have to consciously breathe does not mean that our breathing is an action without consequence. Even monadic religions like Christianity have long expressed the theme that God is privy to the content of one's thoughts and judges thee accordingly. Instead of interpreting this message as a threat of punishment for poor morals, as if God is going to get grumpy at you when you fantasize about the nude form of your rather attractive neighbor, we can instead think about this as a solemn acknowledgement that even one's thoughts interface with the world, and we cannot escape their internal and external consequences. In yogic mysticism and a range of occult disciplines, advanced practitioners are encouraged to enter a phase in which they are to view all experience, all phenomena, as a direct conversation between God and oneself. This phase of practice creates an environment in which any thought or action is felt to fall within the context of a greater conversation between oneself and existence itself. No action sits outside of this conversation, and no thought sits outside of this conversation. What this mystical lens facilitates is the orienting of all facets of the organism towards a deeper, more unified dialogue or meta-story. From the perspective of this dialogue, both thoughts and actions are language. A spiritual discipline for cultivating alignment of body and mind commonly accompanies such a phase of mystical practice. Now this might be yoga, meditation, qigong or tai chi, martial arts, or the practice of musical instruments. You might be asking, what is the point in doing this? What does this actually mean moment to moment? One of Carl Jung's great gifts to the world was his work on what he called individuation. He described individuation as essentially one's life work, becoming wholly oneself over time. This process necessarily involves exploration, acceptance, and integration of all facets of oneself, simultaneously representing the exploration, acceptance, and integration of the archetypal dynamics of life itself. To facilitate the unfolding of this process, a person must engage with the events of their life as if they are all meaningful and are presenting exactly what one needs to grow at any point in time. As if life is a puzzle and each situation presents one with exactly what one is missing, exactly what one needs on the journey towards becoming whole. The goal of the piecing together of this puzzle is less of a final set of conditions or any sort of ultimate realization. It's more akin to being wholly oneself moment to moment, in harmony with the nature of life. One does not necessarily need to believe that God is constantly shaping situations as teaching experiences for any of this to work. One can voluntarily adopt this lens, that a deeper conversation underpins the flow of life's events.